All right, welcome everyone to this Q&A. Again, I want to welcome everyone to this Q&A. Question came in earlier, and I guess based on spoke about I guess last week or a few weeks back, and that's about God answering prayers, right? So we mentioned that a person should never say, "Well, I prayed well, and God sort of owes me," right? In other words, I had the right intention, everything was good, so God should answer me, right? So we said that's one of the worst things a person can say, because who says who says you did everything right? Who says God has to answer you, right? So the question is, why is it wrong to believe God will always answer my prayers? Right? In other words, God could say no, that's an answer, right? God could say yes. God could say not now. God could say later. Right? So the question, is, why is it wrong to believe God's going to answer? Now, we mentioned God, if a person says, the case was the person said they prayed well, or they prayed very well, so God should answer 100%, right? God should answer. So we said, when a person says that, you're looking haughty. You're thinking, oh, I deserve to be answered. Totally deserve to be answered. Now there is truth to the facts that God can say no. Right? Pray as much as you want. God can say no. God can say, well, maybe it's no right now, but we'll see what happens later. Right? We'll see what happens, in the future. Or God could say yes. Right? So now, the question is, why is it wrong to assume that? So the idea is that God has a lot of compassion. Doesn't mean his compassion is infinite. So you're right, God could say no. God 100% could say no. The question is, do we deserve an answer in the first place? Now, obviously, if you look at the makeup of the Shemona Esrei, the silent meditation, the Amidah, whatever you want to call it, we ask for a lot of things, spiritual and physical. We ask for knowledge, spiritual knowledge. We ask for health, pretty important thing. We ask for livelihoods, also important. We ask for redemption, physical redemption. We ask for spiritual things. It's very true. So, so a person will say, well, God's given us the opportunity. He's given the opportunity to ask for all our needs. So we're not saying God doesn't answer. God does answer. Otherwise, why would we ask for our needs? Then we're asking for nothing. Right? In other words, we're asking in hyperspace. We're asking a question that's not going to get an answer. So what would be the point? Why would you pray then? Now, the question was to expect God to answer in the affirmative. That's a different issue. That's a totally different issue. We have no other being or person to rely on other than him. We have to put our best foot forward, as we always say. But at the end of the day, God's the one in charge. He's the one who's either going to say yay or nay. In either case. So, obviously, when we pray, we're expecting God to answer us. We're expecting help if whatever we need help in. Again, whether it's health, livelihood, other things. So of course we're asking the question. We're asking for help because we understand you can't rely on man. Man is tremendously fickle. If there's one thing we learned from the Holocaust, that is you can't rely on man. You can never rely on man. Now, that doesn't mean you put your best foot forward. Sorry, that you do not put your best foot forward. You got an obligation to put your best foot forward and to do whatever we can to get out of whatever situation we're in. But at the end of the day, does that mean God's going to answer us in a positive way? No. Doesn't mean that. Doesn't mean when I put my best foot forward, everything's going to go the way I planned. No. Right? So the assumption over here is that we're not saying, that we don't believe God's going to answer our prayers. He might not. We have an obligation to pray to him. We can ask for all our needs. Right? But that wasn't the question. That wasn't the question over here. The question was, why do we think God should answer in the affirmative? Why, if a person prayed well, that was the question. If a person prays well, why do they think, even if they didn't get distracted and all these other things, why is there an assumption sometimes God should answer me positively? Why do we deserve God to answer me positively? They're going to say, what do you mean? It's like a person asks the parent for help, all things being equal. The parent can say either, I'm able to help you or I'm not able to help you. Right? Either way. So they, if they say no, okay. They can say no. Or they can say, I don't want to help you. Right? Tough love. I don't want to help you. I want you to struggle some more. I want you to, show gratitude. Parents can do that. I'm not saying it's right. Parents can do that. A person can be in dire straits. They care less. There are people out there. They don't think it's their obligation. Or they think, I already helped you. I should help you some more. You're digging yourself in. Get yourself out of it yourself. Why do you have to come rely on me? Okay, it's their choice. We're not saying the person's doing something necessarily destructive. Right? But it's their choice. What kind of relationship is a child going to have to a parent when they're on their knees asking for help? Not, okay, maybe they made some mistakes along the way. Okay. But if they're in a position to help, why wouldn't they help? Either because they don't believe they should, or they believe you're just going to, it's like an empty pit. You're just going to keep digging yourself in. So why should they help you? I'm talking about the case where they could. So a parent can say, I'm not going to help you. You dug yourself in. That's your problem. Well, why should I help you? I can come up with 100 reasons why. But okay, it's their choice. 100% it's their choice. And God forbid a person should ever be in such a situation. Right? But he can say, wow, your parents aren't going to help you. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Again, they may feel, why should I? You chose this life. You chose this. Fix it. So how's the child going to look at that? They're going to be probably pretty ticked off. Right? They're down and out. They're struggling. Why shouldn't the parent help? If they could. Not saying where they can't. If they could. If they don't want to, okay, it's their choice. It's kind of cruel. I would think if a person's on their knees and a person, struggling and whatever, Okay, it's their choice. Everyone's got choice. If a person can help someone else even without money, they can make a choice if they want to help or not. If they can. They can choose not to. It's their choice. So now let's take it one step further. Person goes to a parent expecting, okay, you figure a parent's going to bail you out because you're their child. I'm not saying you've abused them in different ways, burn money other ways. I'm saying person got stuck, whatever it is. Whatever it is. Not necessarily their own fault. Or in general, business is struggling, let's say. And they could help. They say, wow, that must be hard. What's that going to help? Boy, I feel for you. Yeah, doesn't mean anything. You feel, do something. They choose not to. Okay. Now, we're going to make a big jump here. So our Father in heaven is like a father. So now you come to him and say, listen, I'm stuck over here. I'm not relying on men. Can't rely on men. I'm putting my best foot forward, okay? You're the one in charge. You're the one who calls the shots. You're the one making me struggle over here. Not that I'm doing it to myself. You can do it to yourself also, but I'm saying he's not opening doors. So if he's not opening doors, you can still ask. You can still beg. You can still plead. He could say no. He could say, or maybe later, or whatever. Maybe you have to wait another 25 years before things turn. Okay? You have ups, you have downs, but okay, I'm still here. But I'm not letting you turn the corner for whatever reason. That's an answer, you're right. 100% that's an answer. I didn't say you don't get an answer. My question was, why does a person think if they're doing the right thing and they're going in the right path, God's going to open up he's going to open up all the heavens. He's going to change my life for good. Totally for good. You got, work on, what you think about. You got to work on, making blessings properly, praying properly. You change your whole life. So I want to know, how many people have changed their lives? Red carpet's been rolled out. Livelihood got even better. They didn't suffer from any, God forbid, bad illnesses. Not a guarantee. Just the opposite. The closer you are to the king, we mentioned many times, Corbin Aaron said, the Or Chaim HaKadosh brought him down in Leviticus chapter 10. Mentioned this many times. The closer you are to the king, much more difficult. Right? You got much more responsibility. This is by the death of Nadav and Avihu. So is that a guarantee of going the right path? God's going to open up the heavens? No. We're going to be scrutinized even more. That doesn't mean you're not getting an answer. The answer you're getting is you got to work harder. The answer is I want to hear your prayers better. I want you to realize we have to be subservient to. Doesn't mean he doesn't answer. Right? Getting a no is an answer. That's an answer. Or being in the same status, sometimes better, sometimes worse, it's also an answer. But to think, I prayed so well, that was the point. Maybe I didn't make it clear enough. That was the point. The fact that I think I prayed so well. God owes me now. Look, I prayed well over here. Probably better than I prayed in weeks. So everything I asked for, God's going to give me. Who says? Who says? You really think you prayed maybe that one prayer was good, maybe. I'll give credit where it's due. Let's say you had a lot of intention, every single blessing, mind didn't wander, did all the right things, right? He'll get an A, for that prayer, for that service, okay? But is that a guarantee God's going to answer? I'm talking about the positive. I'm not talking about not getting an answer. No is an answer. Status quo is an answer. Sometimes better, sometimes not, but that's an answer. Yes is an answer. But to think, and this was the point, to think I deserve a yes, or a person deserves a yes because they prayed one service very well. That you can't expect. Just the opposite. That's the ultimate in being gaivid, in being haughty. Thinking I deserve, look what I did over here. I deserve, what do you deserve? I'll take it one step further. The Chofetz says, he brings down in Shar B'tachon, in the gates of emunah, of belief and faith in God. So the Chofetz over there asks the following question. He says, why does the person deserve rewards for the mitzvahs they do? We know in the world to come, we'll get the reward, true rewards for the mitzvahs we've done. Right? Sometimes we'll get maybe some of the mitzvahs in this world. But we understand this reward. The highest level, it says in Pirkei Avos, as our father's highest level is to serve God if I'm not going to get reward. Just to serve him, that's our obligation. So if I'm already obligated to serve him, why should I get reward? Why should I say, God, I want a hoodsie? Right? Those little Dixie cups made out of, ice cream. That is chocolate and vanilla, wooden spoon, made from hood. We used to call it a hoodsie, so probably call it a hoodsie. Anyone in Boston knows. So God says, yeah, I should give you a hoodsie. I should give you a Tootsie Pop, Tootsie Roll. For what? That's what you're obligated to do. The Mishnah there says also, you're going to think you're God's gift to the world for learning. And you learned a lot. You're a big rabbinic scholar. Very good. Isn't that what you're obligated to do? That's what you're obligated to do. So now you come back and you say, God, I deserve a hoodsie. That's what I deserve. You owe me? What does he owe you? You're obligated as a Jew. If you're a born Jew, you're obligated. A non-Jew can tap in. They keep the no-hide laws. They can convert if they want. Right? But the ultimate in the chutzpah say, I deserve. Right? I deserve over there. What do you deserve? That's what you're commanded to do. Oh, comes along the Chofetz Avos. As he says in duties of the heart, you know why I get reward? You want to know why God gives you reward over here? Because he does an act of ultimate chesed. He does a tremendous act of loving kindness. It's the only reason. But if I keep what he says, why do I think I deserve reward? Oh, but isn't it true? Every Jew is going to have a portion of the world to come. Every righteous Gentile has a portion of the world to come. Isn't that true? It's true. It's on the books. It's written down. That is true. But why should that be? Because I'm commanded to do what he said. All of a sudden you say, okay, we're going to give you a chocolate bar. For what? You're commanded. Nothing else. That's what you're commanded to do. Says the Chofetz Avos. You know why God's going to give you a reward? Not because you deserve it. It has nothing to do with whether you deserve it or not. Why is he going to give you a reward? Because it's a chesed. It's a big act of loving kindness. That's it. We don't deserve reward otherwise. Because that's what we're commanded to do. So if a person's going to say, yeah, I prayed well today. I did a lot of good mitzvahs today. I'm going to pat myself on the back. God, because of all the things I asked for, you're going to give it to me on a platter. Yeah, you're in big trouble. You say such a thing. You're in huge trouble if you say such a thing. Even if it's true. Because it's coming from God. That's coming from being conceited. That's haughtiness over here. Saying, I did everything the way I should have. Soup to nuts when I woke up in the morning. Washed my hands the right way, got dressed the right way, prayed the right way, interpersonal relationships did the right way. Everything I get 100%. Can anyone say that with any level of clarity? Anybody? Nobody can say that. Nobody can ever make such a claim. Some things you do better, some things not. But a person's got the gall to say, yeah, I deserve. God, you're going to give me? Who says? Because I prayed well. That doesn't mean God's going to say yes or no. God can say yes or no. He can say, well, we'll wait and see. That's an answer. I agree. Right? But to expect I'm going to get what I want because I did X, Y, and Z. Yeah, think again. Think twice. Think 3 times. But someone's going to say, doesn't God have mercy? Doesn't God see what's deep in your heart? Yeah, he does. But God can squeeze you also. He knows you're in dire straits for different things. So why doesn't he take you out of it? Why doesn't he take you out of it straight away? He doesn't want to. Either you don't deserve it, or he wants you to pray better. You look at now, we're going through the stories of Abraham, going to go through Isaac, through Jacob, right? And we see, you see that Sarah didn't have children. According to nature, she never had children. God changed her nature. Right? Rivka, same thing. She could, she had difficulty having children. Rachel, same thing. So commentaries say, so why did God make them barren? Why did he make it difficult for them? He made it difficult because he likes to hear the prayers of the righteous. Because that's a true prayer from the bottom of the heart. We're going to say, what? God's going to make people suffer? God wants people to suffer? No. But see, when we're in dire straits and we need something like yesterday, you're going to pray a heck of a lot different. Your prayer is going to come from the depths because you're on your knees and you need help. That's what God wants to see. But we shouldn't have to come to that. Our prayer should be like that on a daily basis, even if we don't need these other things. And we're not in dire straits. But we don't pray as well. We take things for granted. We take things for granted over here. Right? Somebody points out serving God is reward. Serving God's an obligation. It's an obligation. Right? The Rambam says, there's an obligation to pray. There's an obligation for non-Jews to pray, whatever they want to say. Non-Jews can also pray. That's the Torah obligation. Everything else is rabbinical. What you say, when you say it, how you say it, that's all rabbinic. The Torah obligation is to actually pray. Right? So let's rephrase over here. Serving God is a reward. Who says it's a reward? It's an obligation. It's a benefit. God gives us an opportunity to serve it. True. That is definitely benefit. It's a benefit for us. He doesn't need it, but it's a benefit for us. Right? He gives us that opportunity. So you're right. The better you do it, the more you're obligated. Isn't being drawn close a reward. So let's say like this, that the more I know and the more I understand, then I'm held to a higher standard. Which means that the closer I am to the king, and I mess up, God forbid, or somebody messes up, the punishment is much more severe. So, if we're holding at a higher level and we slip up, you're right, we're more obligated. The punishment can be more severe. That is true. But the question is, when I keep what I'm supposed to do, you don't speak lashon hara, you're careful what you say, you're careful the way you dress, you watch your eyes, you guard your thoughts, you do the mitzvahs the best you can. There's an obligation to do so that draws us closer to God. That's true. Right? Even if we don't understand it, even, if on Sukkot I have my lulav, here's my lulav, right? And I'm shaking my lulav like this and like that. I have no idea what I'm doing. At least certainly not Kabbalistically. I have a general idea. Right? So explain to someone doing that's going to draw them closer. We believe every mitzvah we do draws us closer. Whether we understand it more, we understand it less. That has nothing to do with reward. It's a benefit. I would say it's a benefit. Reward is something else. Right? Reward is after doing the mitzvah, is actually having something in your hands. You're going to say, how does that work? Talking in spiritual terms. Right? Very true. Very true. So reward is something very specific. Right? As we explained, it's not necessarily in this world. Reward is for the next world. Right? Drawing close, I wouldn't necessarily call it a reward. I call it a benefit. That's what's supposed to happen. The more we do, the closer we should be. Right? We keep the mitzvahs, we do what he says. So that's going to draw us closer. Right? That is true. It's a benefit. I would call it a benefit, not necessarily a reward. Maybe it's just the issue in semantics over here. Right? But keep in mind one thing, the better we do things, the higher levels we're on, and we continue to grow, then we're much more obligated. True? That is definitely true. Because now we're held to a higher standard. So now if you mess up, consequences are worse. The ramifications are worse. Very true. So a person would say, which I had a friend of mine once say, better for us to be ignorant. Because if we're ignorant, God's not going to hold us to a higher standard. Unless he thinks you got greater potential. If you got greater potential, different issue. If you don't have greater potential, God doesn't think anything's going to come out of you anyway. So you'd be held to a different standard. If he thinks you got greater potential, different issue. Totally different issue. But he's going to judge you where you're holding right now. That we learn out from Ishmael. When Ishmael is dying, right, the angels say, let him die. The angels say in the Medrash, let him die. God says, let him die. There's only one problem. Right? Why do they want to let him die? Look at all the problems his offspring are going to cause the Jewish people in the future. God says, true, one problem. Or let's say better, I got one question. God asked the angels, okay, is he guilty right now or not? It's a child, he's innocent. So I can't kill him. But you know what he's going to do in the future? You know what his offspring are going to do? So what? You only hit the person where they're holding now. You don't go according to future potential. Except in one case. There's only one case the Torah brings about. You nail the person right now, because of what he's going to do in the future. What's that? By the wayward son. By Ben Sarah Moir. He's 12 and a half. You give him 6 months, right between 12 and 12 and a half. And if he's still going in that direction, parents are going to take him out, take him to the center of the square, and they're going to kill him. People are going to stone him to death. Now, the Gemara says you need a lot of conditions over here to do this. You need the parents to be the same height, same voice, a lot of different things, right? So one opinion is this never happened. Wayward son was never killed. The Gemara asks, if the wayward son was never killed, then why is it in the Torah? It's only in the Torah for you to get merit, for you to get reward for learning it. But you got to ask the question. You can say by other things. Person desecrates Shabbos. How do you know he's not going to repent later? Maybe we'll give him the opportunity to repent later. Right? We're not going to get him now. Or let's say you can't get him now based on a technicality, whatever it is. Maybe he's going to repent later. Other mitzvahs, you give an opportunity to repent. There's one mitzvah, you don't give him the opportunity. Sorry, there's one case, you don't give him an opportunity. That's the case of the wayward son. Now, if you're going to tell me, let's say it did exist. There was such an idea. There was such a thing, it did exist. Right? Why are you going to kill him? Why are we going to give him 6 months? What happened to repentance? Why do you throw repentance out the window? So some answer, you have to see what he's doing over here. If he eats, a quarter pound of meat, less than a kilo of meat, drinks a little bit of wine, right? Then you can kill him. Well, that's very easy. Not so hard to do today, to eat that much, even as a 12-year-old, right? What are we worried about? He's never going to get enough. Eventually, he's going to steal from his parents, right? In other words, this is something 100% is going to happen. There's no chance over here. No chance it's not going to happen. So what happened to repentance? The fact that he's going in this direction, keeps going and going and going, he's not going to stop. So therefore, you would kill him straight away. And that would take out the problem. You kill him when he's more innocent now than he would be later. But you got to ask the question, what happened to repentance? He's not going to grow up. He's not going to repent over here. Because he's going in that direction, right? You have to say that if he's going in that direction, we're assuming 100% he's never coming back. He's never coming back. He's going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. We can say that about a lot of different things, but the Torah doesn't. Very interesting, the Torah doesn't. Torah makes the case for one case. For one case. That's the only case that we say he's not allowed to repent. That's it. Right? That's the point. That's the point over here. So, I would agree. Keeping Torah, keeping mitzvah should draw us close. Definitely should draw us close. That is definitely a benefit. Because wherever a person's holding in the world, think where you were a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, in this path. You were nowhere, right? Most people. Probably nowhere. But now you're growing, now you're learning. It's a whole different world, right? So whatever a person does, whatever a person puts into their life, sure they're going to get much more out of it. It's a greater benefit. That's true. That's going to draw a person closer, right? Like the Mission Pirkei Avos says, right? As it says in Ethics for Our Fathers, mitzvah goreres, mitzvah vera goreres severa. Person does the mitzvahs, he's going to continue to do more mitzvahs. Person transgresses, he's going to transgress more, right? Depends the path the person wants to go. You want to go on the right path, we always say, God will help you. You want to go on the wrong path, God will not stop you. But look where a person's holding now. And we should all be whistling Dixie and doing the jitterbug and, doing the moonwalk. I don't have to do any of them because we're holding a totally different plane than most people in the world. For good. That mean we're perfect? No. Certainly not. But doesn't all these things draw us closer? 100%. 100%. Doesn't mean we don't have trials. Doesn't mean it's easy, right? But it also doesn't mean I expect God to answer yes in this circumstance or that circumstance or whatever it is. That we can't expect. We hope, God's going to help us in this and that. He doesn't have to. He can just say no. He can just say this isn't good for you or whatever. Or because of other things, he's not telling us. Because of other things, you're going to get delayed over here. You're going to have more difficulties, right? And so he can say, okay, you're going to wait. You might wait a long time. Or the answer might be no. Or could be the answer might be yes. But to think God's going to give us yes as an answer, you're going to say, come on. God's our Father in heaven. God can do anything, right? He can change a person's fortune, right? Yeshua Hashem Ka'ervayin. Salvation can come in the blink of an eyelash. That's true. Seen it in my own life. 100% true. The question is, does that mean God has to? Right? That's the question. Does he have to? And the answer is, he doesn't have to do anything. He doesn't owe us anything. He gives us everything. He gives us life, gives the ability to breathe, to eat, have a roof over our heads. He gives us what we need. He said, but I need more. I need this, I need that. Okay, you can ask. No one says you can't ask. The question is if he's going to give us or not. He could say no. But my point was, but the thing I did, and I guarantee with all the money I don't have, I guarantee that, if, anyone who's changed their life and gone in the ways, gone in the way the Torah wants, I can pretty much guarantee their life after that has not been easy. Maybe some more, some less, but I guarantee it hasn't been easy. Why? Because now you're held to a different standard, right? Before it was easy. It was much easier in certain ways. Why? Because you're holding nowhere in the world. So God is fine. I'll give him this, I'll give him that. I'll make life much easier. Because we're not holding anywhere. Oh, now a person comes to recognition. Now a person comes to a recognition of God, and what he has to do starts to change their life. Whole different ball of wax. Whole different thing. Because now you're held to a higher standard. Totally different thing. So most people, if you're held to a higher standard, no matter where you're holding in the world, but you're going in the right direction, guess what? Life doesn't always go the way you think or the way you want, right? One of those famous lyrics, can't always get what you want. Doesn't work that way. Now a person gets tossed around and has difficulties. So what do you do when you have difficulties? You pray. You ask God to take away the difficulty. Right? You work harder. You try and change more. Right? In order to get a favorable judgment over here. Right? God has mercy. That's true. He's got a lot of mercy. It doesn't mean, though, even if I invoke the mercy, God's going to say yes. He'll answer. He could say no. He could say wait. And that could go on for a week, go on for a month. In my case, go on for 17 years in different ways. You can just say, okay, there's payback here. Why? Could be any number of reasons. Right? But to think we deserve, we don't deserve anything. He's giving us everything. You can say, well, this part of my life is hard. Okay. Maybe God's going to say you did it to yourself. Or maybe he's going to say, well, this is what your soul has to go through, in different things. Or maybe he says, I want you to change more. I want you to work hard. But I'm working as hard as I can. Obviously, God doesn't think so. There are a million different levels that a person can read. I'll give one example. Imagine a person works on not cursing. They say for an hour a day, during this time, whatever happens, I'm not going to curse. So what happens? They're doing something at home. They take a hammer, they're banging in a nail, right hammer, left thumb, bam. But the person is working on themselves not to curse. So they scream out in pain, but they don't curse. Tremendous level. They're in a lot of pain, but they're not cursing. Huge. It's a huge thing. Right? So then you ask the question, okay, did you think any curse word in your mind? Now, what's someone going to say? Someone's going to say, come on, yesh gvul, there's a limit. Okay, at least I didn't curse. True? You pat yourself on the back for that. 100% you pat yourself on the back for that. But realize there are higher levels here as well. Did you think in your mind the curse? Did you think of any curse words? Different level. So you should be thankful the level you're on now. And realize there are other levels. 100% there are other levels. A person may not be holding by those other levels. Okay. Right? We're a work in progress. So the bar gets higher. The standards get higher. Just because the person passed one thing, there are a lot of hoops to jump through over here. Someone asked, can you pray for help to get through it, let's say for endurance, without asking to change it favorably? Yeah, you could ask to be able to, a person's going through whatever it is, whatever tough time it is, whatever they're going through, right? So a person can say, okay, I have this coming, whatever. I have to go through this. Give me the wherewithal to be able to withstand it. That you can pray for sure. You can also pray to take it off, right? If a person says, okay, I don't want to pray for that, but I want to be able to have the power to be able to endure. That you can do. That for sure you can pray for. Right? I said once, I said, okay, you're putting me in this situation. I don't know what you want over here, but okay. I want it changed. I want to get out of the situation. Obviously, you don't want me to. You want me to work on my emunah bitachon, my faith and belief in God. Okay? Obviously I haven't got the lesson enough. I have to, go through some more. Fine. Right? But see, I never asked that. It's an interesting thing. I never said, okay, just help me just get through it. And endure it. See, I was just the opposite. I would say, take it away. You can do anything, change it. You can do anything. Shuvas Hashem Ka'arifying. You can change things like the blink of an eyelash. You're the big boss over here. You're the one in charge. You can change anything. I would think most people, depends what the situation is. But in certain situations, they want the situation to change. They don't want the power to endure unless, God forbid, let's say, it's an illness. And it's a tough illness that they have to go through. Have to go through treatment or whatever. That I could hear. Not only taking it away, but to be able to survive, to be able to endure. That it could be in other cases also. Right? I would say off the top of my head, sickness would be one of them. Right? But, other things I would think, most people would say, change it, get rid of it, make it better. But I also hear the other side to say, listen, if you're not going to change it, or whatever the case is, give me the ability to endure it. That I should have strength while going through it. Right? You definitely ask for that. You can definitely ask for that. It is interesting. I'll just throw this out there. We can take a lot. We may not think so. We can take a lot. We go through a lot. The Jewish people, throughout the millennium have suffered more than anybody else combined. Pogroms, Holocaust, all kinds of things. All kinds of terrible tragedies, having to move out of countries, with nothing on their backs, bury the clothes on their backs, that's it. Being thrown out and all kinds of things. We've been able to endure a lot. And that's good and bad. It's good in the sense that, we're here for the long haul. Right? One of the things I said, going through something, I said, okay, that's what you want. I'm not going anywhere. You're not going to break me here. This is what you want. You don't want to change it. Whatever. Okay. But I'm not going to be broken over here. All right. So that kind of says, well, I'm here for the long term. Anyone who wants to convert, you got to be in for the long term. Because if you're not in for the long term and you think it's going to take a short amount of time, think again. Person might have to move, have to go through all kinds of things, and jump through hoops. It's not going to be easy. No one says it's going to be easy. And it shouldn't be easy. Right? But we have to be, the Jewish people suffered a lot. More than anybody else. So we're here for the long term. And only the few are going to survive the end of days. Unless, seemingly the Messiah comes and everybody repents. I find that hard to believe. But, there's going to be a remnant left of the Jewish people. The remnant left are going to be those who hold to the Torah strongest. And their faith is intact. Right? Right before the Messiah comes, that's going to be the test. The ultimate test is in faith. Because a lot of things not going to make any sense. And we're going to be on our knees, God forbid. And there's only going to be one person to reach out to, and that's God himself. And that's it. Yeah, somebody asked before, Jeremiah chapter 35. How it explains the Arabs today. Let me just see 1 second. Let's take a quick look over here. What's it talking about? Yeah, so what's the question? What's it referring to? How it applies to the Arabs today? It's hereditary succession, adding rules for sons acceptable for men who are non-Jews. So what do I see over here? Yeah, it's passed down. Okay, it's talking about lesson to be learned over here. It's Jeremiah, right? Yeah. Children of the word. Okay, the fact that they kept all the commandments not going to get wiped out. So what's the question? How does it apply to Arabs today? Hereditary succession. Well, I see that by kings. That's how it worked. It definitely went through the, father to son. And usually the oldest son. If it wasn't the oldest son, then got passed down. Right? Maybe sometimes it went, to a son-in-law, but usually it's hereditary, right? That I would agree. Right? Does that work for non-Jews? Question is, does that work for non-Jews? The succession work for non-Jews. Secular world, we see that's true. We definitely see that's true. But the question is, sorry, 1 second. Yeah, I can't answer what the Arabs do or don't do. Right? The Arabs themselves, they go against what the Torah says. Right? They're making up a new religion. Right? So, even if there is hereditary succession, they're not holding by it. Right? They're doing whatever, they're doing whatever they do. Right? Is that forever acceptable? Who says kingship by non-Jews has, the question how it's supposed to go. Is it supposed to go, father to son? You see that, certainly see that in Tanakh. That, father was king, or they got killed off or whatever, or, died, who to go to, went to his son, right? From his son, Judaism works that way, right? Even in Torah, it seems to work that way. There are some institutions, some yeshivas that goes to the family. The father's Rosh Yeshiva, passes away, goes to his son, or son-in-laws, or, people within the family. There are places, definitely places like that. You don't have necessarily outsiders, but that's for Torah. There are definitely institutions like that. There are others not like that. What if their kid doesn't want to go into that? What if they're doing other things? They can't pass it down to them. Rav Shach, blessed memory, had one son, and he didn't become really anything in Torah. So the yeshiva didn't get passed down to him. He didn't become, next head of the yeshiva. Right? So by yeshiva might be different. Is there succession by non-Jews the same way? I don't know why it should be any different. Right? Unless you tell me you're going to put, it's only by Judaism, and by non-Jews, they're going to put whoever's the best one to be in power next. Right? It doesn't have to be, their son. Right? Who says it has to be hereditary? By Torah, it's hereditary. Right? So you can't necessarily, bring any proof from what the Arabs do, what others do. It doesn't really matter. They're not holding by Torah mitzvahs. right? So the question is, by non-Jews. By non-Jews, is it hereditary? I don't know why it should be. Is it something that would be universal? That, a person's king and they die, let's say, natural death, then their son's going to take over even by non-Jews? Could be, maybe not. Maybe it's going to be someone outside. Maybe it's going to be a military leader, who's better at reigning, and leading than a king. Sorry, than any one of the sons. Right? Let's say someone's got 5 sons. Only got 5 sons. None of them are inclined to be the king. None of them have good enough character traits, this and that, to be the king. So either they put someone on the throne anyway and they just build them up. That could be, right? That certainly could be, right? Or they not, they say, let him wait to be king. We'll put someone else in power, right? But who says by non-Jews it should work the same way, right? That it's hereditary. Not true. Shouldn't, it doesn't necessarily have to be. The question is that something universal? Is that something in secular world or in general, according to Torah, would that be universal? That gets passed down. I don't know. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's necessarily what we're going to say is universal, right? I don't want to necessarily say that. Somebody mentions a very interesting thing. Someone says you got to observe the law from your heart. Well, why from your heart? You got to keep the law what it is, what your mind tells you, not just what's in your heart. You got to keep it to the best of your ability. I agree, right? But you're not keeping things just because it's in your heart, and your heart can lead you astray. We have to have the mind keep us together to keep what we're supposed to keep. It doesn't just come from the heart. Someone asks, does Torah teach to participate in election? I just got this question yesterday. Right? So outside of Israel, maybe I'd say, yeah, maybe there is a mitzvah to, because you want people in power, or you want to support people that are more conducive to our way of life. Now, does that mean because the law of the land, I have an obligation to vote? No, I don't have an obligation per se. Right? Someone tried to tell me yesterday about, people were saying, here in Israel, there's an obligation to vote, right? Based on a certain verse. I don't know. Who says that? People will say it was more critical to vote because of what this left-wing government tried to do and whatever. So it's very good, get them out of power, and the right's going to be able to form a government and all that, all things being equal. So yeah, that's good. You don't trust them either, but it's certainly better than the left. Is it a mitzvah to participate? Here in Israel, people would say, yeah, you got an obligation. I wouldn't say a mitzvah, you got an obligation. Why do you have an obligation? Because if you don't vote and you don't get enough votes for the religious parties, then the left could get into power, be a lot worse. That I agree. That 100% I agree. But, I mentioned this on Tuesday. There's the one problem. Even if they have political parties, and even if they're in the government, guess what? There are all kinds of things that go against Torah, and they're still sitting in the government. They don't bring it down. Desecration of Shabbos being one of them. So we look stupid because we're there for money to look out for our own interests. But God forbid, desecration of Shabbos, you're not going to call them out. So you're guilty by association. How can you do that? Forget about a mitzvah, not mitzvah, to vote or not. How could you sit there with these evil people right in front of your face and desecrating Shabbos? Shabbos desecration and the Holy Land is being done right in front of your face. So how can you look the other way? I don't have an answer. Forbidden. Shouldn't they bring down the government every time they find out about it or whatever? Yeah, they should, but government's got to run. Can't just keep bringing the government down. So they're getting a kickback somewhere. They're getting hush money, or they're getting something for being quiet, not bringing it down. But what do you think? They don't know the desecration of Shabbos is going on? Of course they know. They definitely know. They're looking the other way. So I'll ask you a better question or a different question. How can they look the other way and be in the government? For money? How could Orthodox Jews be in the Ministry of Interior and allow 1 million non-Jewish Russians to come here and look the other way? They knew that. They knew all these Russians weren't Jewish, 100% nothing to talk about. My Rebbe went ballistic when this happened. Made a whole protest against it, this and that. And he said, yeah, God forbid there's a war. You got 1 million pork-eating Russians. They're going to join with the other side. You think they love Jews? They don't love Jews. Why are they here? Benefits. Why would any Russian come to Israel? Benefits. Money, better life. Got nothing to do with Judaism. Certainly not. So Rabbi said that's why we have a problem with the Arabs, because they let all these non-Jews in. Now, exactly what the connection is, okay, right? We could ask a question, what's the connection? But he said you got a whole third group here. More than 1 million Russians. A whole group that are sonei das. They hate Torah. They hate mitzvahs. And they're the biggest ones involved in importing pork into the country. So that's my Rebbe about it once. I said, I don't get it. I said, what, they can't go without pork? He said, no, you don't understand. It's so much part of them, they can't live without it. So they'll do whatever they can to bring it in. So how could ultra-Orthodox Jews sit in the Ministry of Interior and look the other way? They knew this. Everybody knows it. This is, I'm not talking out of my elbow. This is something everybody knows. Historical fact. So how could they look the other way? You're not allowed to bring in non-Jews in here. Goes against Torah, it goes against Jewish law. So how could they do it? You want to tell me money? How could they look the other way? I don't know, I could come up with bad answers. Right? So isn't that a desecration of God's name? Oh, that's a huge desecration of God's name. And people sitting there, with all these heretics and spitting in their face on a regular basis, even if they're part of the government. They're no better. Think the right wing's any better than the left? They're a little bit better. They just know they need us. Because without us, they wouldn't have a government. You think they're more traditional? Not more traditional. Not at all. So, the vast majority of rabbinical authorities hold you have to vote. Not because it's a mitzvah to vote. Because here, it's crucial. Because otherwise, this country would be a lot worse. It would look a lot worse. Okay? But not everyone holds that. Right? Like my Rebbe holds, better to sit in the opposition. Better to sit in the opposition than to have a hand in desecration of Shabbos or other things. So as a Torah Jew, someone who believes, God gave the Torah on Mount Sinai, how could you look the other way at these things? Bones being desecrated, Shabbos being desecrated, other things. How can you look the other way? Others will say, whatever the reason is, you have no choice. There are political parties. They go according to, the great rabbis of the generation. Okay. Guilty by association. You're going to say that's a minority opinion. Okay, you're right. It's a minority opinion. It's a minority opinion. Okay? That doesn't answer the question. Question remains. So, if a person lives outside of Israel, should they vote? Yeah, you want to have a say, and who's in charge, that they should be better for us, better for Jews, better for Israel. Sometimes the question of picking someone who's worse or even worse, so yeah, mitzvah to vote? I don't know. I wouldn't say it's a mitzvah to vote. Person got a Torah obligation to vote or a rabbinic obligation? I don't know. Wouldn't say that. I just say here in Israel, it's a little more crucial in different ways. Outside of Israel also, but again, is that desecration of God's name if you don't vote? No. Is it better to have people in power that's, more sympathetic to our needs and different things? Yeah. That's who you vote for. Doesn't matter. Republican, Democrat, this, that, doesn't matter. Right? And cross lines. You're voting for the person who's the best for our interest. That's what anyone votes that way. No one votes across the board like this or like that. If they're Democrat, they only vote Democrat. Right? Some people do. I would agree. Some people probably do. But okay. But you want to vote for the person who's best for you, who's best for the Jewish people, who's best for Israel, right? That's what we want. Now, is that going to be a Torah obligation? No. Is that desecration of God's name? Plenty of people don't vote. Outside of Israel, plenty of people don't vote. Show me, that there are very few elections where maybe you had more than 50% vote. I think the last election, I think, was one of the highest voting in America, just because of what the stakes were, et cetera, with Trump and Biden. But, then it's different circumstances. The vote in the States, you never hit 60%. I don't think you're even close. Like if you hit 45%, 51%, the number's not that high. Definitely not that high. So I say all those people, who don't vote, or if you're a Jew or a JIT or an OI, you don't vote that desecration of God's name. No, many don't vote. The only question is, my question would be, what about here in Israel? Here in Israel, it's a different issue, right? But outside of Israel, a person can vote, and they want to have a say in, someone who's closer to our beliefs. That's who they should vote for. Doesn't matter if they cross parties, this, that. You vote for the best person, right? The best person for our interests. And that's who religious organizations endorse. Doesn't matter. Maybe sometimes it's more one group than another group, but it doesn't matter. The question is who's best for our interests. A lot of people voted, right? The religious parties, a lot of people voted, right? Because, a lot of the great rabbis came out and said, this is crucial. This is something that's absolutely critical. You got to go out and vote. Because the last government was a disaster. Total disaster against us. True. 100% true. Right? But I mentioned on Tuesday, someone wanted me to ask my Rebbe if he holds still you shouldn't vote. And that's what he still holds. But he said if you're going to vote, you vote for the religious party. Right? He still holds you shouldn't vote. What about all the other rabbis? He disagrees. He's got a lot of big ones behind him also. I'm pointing out the vast majority say you go vote. Okay. So I tell people, listen, I told people today, earlier today, I said, you got a Rav, he tells you what to do. Very good. But don't quote me great rabbis of the previous generations. This one said, and that one said, and that one said. I said, when you hold by what they say and everything, you call me. If you pick and choose, just say, I pick and choose. I said, I've had the same Rebbe more than 25 years. That's it. I take the stringencies with the leniencies. People don't like it, they can go eat kugel. Okay. But that's what he holds. I have to go re-ask the question. What do I have to re-ask the question for? I know what he holds. I know exactly what he holds. Right? Well, this congregation votes. I was telling someone today. He's got one fanatic that doesn't vote. Everyone else votes. Except his kids and grandkids or whatever. But most people in the synagogue, they vote. So he's got a few true students. Few. People say, oh, that desecration of God's name? No. I mean, some people might think, how can you not vote? This great rabbi and that great, okay. I asked my question. I got my answer. It hasn't changed. Totally hasn't changed. I don't pick and choose. Other people want to pick and choose. Very good. If they ask their own personal question and their rabbi told me you have to vote, it's okay. So they'll go vote. So I told someone years ago, my rabbi said, you don't vote. I didn't have a chance to vote. It wasn't legal here. Right? I was still here as a tourist. So I said, if you pick and choose, admit you pick and choose. I told the great rabbi this right to his face. I said, you want to pick and choose and you hold everything that these other rabbis say, fine. If you pick and choose, just say, I pick and choose. I said, I keep stringencies with the leniencies. That's it. And that was it. I put them in their place and they agreed. They didn't disagree. He said, okay, it's a good point. I said, I don't pick and choose. I got the point. But again, other people would say, come on, that's a fringe element. They could get another 50,000 votes, 100,000. Okay, they could, but these people are not going to vote. They're not going to vote. Right? I saw someone yesterday, put up something, how, crucial it is. And they were saying, yeah, it's a mitzvah to vote. Desecration of God's name. If you don't vote, okay. I'm going to take that with a grain of salt. Let them go argue with my Rebbe about it. Let them go argue with other people who don't vote. Right? Other great rabbis say you shouldn't vote. Okay, let them argue. I understand the other side. Right? Again, how are you going to, they're going to say it's better to be in the government than not, because then you have more say and this and that. Yeah, but what about desecration of Shabbos under your face? In front of your face? If they just look at you as a joke, there's a bloodsucker just there to get money. Right? To make sure your interests are met. Well, everybody's like that. Isn't it true? We just look worse. We look a lot worse. So it's good and bad. Some Rebbe would say it's better to be in the opposition. At least your nose is clean. You don't have anything to do with these people. Per se. You fight whatever you can fight, and that's it. But you have more say if you're, if you have your interests met and you're part of the government. It's true. It'd be a lot worse if there weren't religious parties. I agree. That's the majority opinion. But I was just explaining the other side. Why people say you shouldn't do that. But again, most people are going to say it's a minority opinion. I agree. Definitely agree. So, yeah, the religious Zionists, they got a lot of votes. Many more than people thought. They were out left and right getting people to sign up and this and that. Religious parties, stay pretty much the same. So that was good. So now, now he's got a majority, at least of 4. Right? He's got a 4-base majority. So that's good. That's good. Hopefully, stay in power for a while. See what happens. But again, let's keep in mind, they're no better in many ways. They are better in other ways. True. You don't want a left-wing government for sure. Left-wing government is a disaster. Right? But you have to see who they are, what they want. Why are they with us? Why are they with the Orthodox? They don't have a choice. They don't have a choice. They can't make a government without us, so they have to give in to us. You think they really want to give in to us? If they had their right, they deal with us just like they deal with the Arabs. Right? And some of the politicians have said it explicitly. Explicitly, I heard it with my own ears. They said, when we're done dealing with the Arabs, we're going to deal with the Orthodox. They weren't kidding, because they hate religion. They hate religion. Some are more traditional, less traditional. They hate religion. That's what the whole country was founded on. Is a country without Torah mitzvahs. That's a disaster. Disaster. And if you would have that going on a regular basis, Judaism would die. Everyone would agree. But it's not just live and let live. They want to run buses on Shabbos. They want to do other things, to desecrate the state, desecrate Torah. But see, we're going to hold up to the status quo. So we got power. We don't just, we're not just a few thousand people. They can't just do whatever they want. So yeah, that's good. But don't think they're any better. They're not any better. It's because they're more right wing. That doesn't mean anything religious. They have just as less connection to the state in many ways as the left. Even though they're against the two-state solution and different things. Okay. So they're more to the right. Very good. Religiously, they're no different. How many times will their ministers get caught doing stuff on Shabbos outside of Israel? Desecrating Shabbos. They're no better. Don't think they're better by any stretch. You can say, how can you judge that? We see what they do. We see what they say. They're not getting to the heart of it. Oh, how do you know? We know. We know what these people stand for. Their goal is to uproot Torah. That's their goal. Problem is, we got a lot of power now. They can't do that. They can't just do whatever they want. They can't just steamroll us. We got a lot of power here now. Okay. Right? So that's very good. At the same time, we're not worshiping them. We have no choice. Got to work with them. They're better to work with on the other side. Very true. Very, very true. Okay. They know any more about Judaism than the other side? No. Ariel Sharon, anyone who knows, right? He wasn't even Jewish. His mother wasn't Jewish. I'm not so sure people are aware of that. Go down as, a big time hawk, and then he became a centrist or whatever. He wasn't even Jewish. What happened? Tradition. You're just more right wing, okay? That aligns with what we think, what the Torah thinks in many ways. Good. Religiously, disaster. No difference. These are the same people who are telling you that you got to make the test for conversion easier in Israel by saying you got to take off the question, who is Moshe Rabbeinu? Some of these ministers said it. Think they're any better? They know nothing, just like the others. Ignoramus is just like the others. They're just more right wing, so they're not gonna sell at the state, as easily as the other side. Okay, that's a benefit. I agree, total benefit. Religiously, come on. Time and time again, ministers get caught doing stuff on Shabbos outside of Israel. Now, not that's great Shabbos in public if you're a minister outside of Israel. Shouldn't do it anyway. Cases come up. These are not the religious of the religious. Is it better they're in power? Yeah. In many ways. Okay? Right? But there's no great shakes. Totally no great shakes. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. There are people who are in power that are worse. I agree. Well, I'm not denying that. Ministry of Torah is a Messianic Christian. Okay. And they say by Lapid, his wife is a what do you call it? A Messianic. She denied it, but that's what the claim is. I wouldn't deny it. I wouldn't be surprised by it. I mean, his father hated Orthodox Jews with a passion. With a passion. He's been the editor of one of the most notorious left-wing papers here. Passion, he hated religious Jews. They say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Also, total ignoramus, this guy. Believes in building up the state. What did he do when he was in America? He's sitting there saying, "Yeah, we need a two-state solution." The guy's crazy. I mentioned it many times. How can you give up the heart of a country and you can't defend it? It makes no sense. The left wing will sell us out. Nothing to talk about. I don't think the right wing is that much better. Yeah, a little bit better in different ways. Knowledge-wise, Judaism, God should have mercy on them. Should have a lot of mercy on them. But yeah, the left are worse. Totally worse. So will Mashiach be voted for? No, not going to be any vote with the Messiah. He's going to come. He's going to be revealed by Elijah the prophet. It's going to come and say, the Messiah is here, blah, blah, blah. That's his job. That's his job. He's going to come back and, he's going to come and say, this is the Messiah. He's not going to be voted. No question about it. What do Jews want in Israel? I think they want, the Arabs to go away. They don't want any problems with the Arabs. Someone takes give them whatever they want, so they won't bother us. People just want to be left alone, right? But what's the main thing? They want to be able to do what they want. They don't want what they call kfiyat datit. What's kfiyat datit? Religious coercion. They want to go to the beach on Saturday. They want public transportation. The only reason it's not worse is because we have a bigger say. That's the only reason. Left-wing government or right-wing government. No difference. No difference. So they want to be able to do what they want to do, and they don't want to be told what to do. Right? So that's what the state was founded on, a state of Jews, not a state of Torah. They don't want to be told what to do and how to live. They want housing prices to come down. They want things to be easier. They don't want problems with the Arabs. Yeah, I also believe in tooth fairy. A lot of these things are just not going to happen. Arabs not going to go away. You give them everything, they're not going to go away. They offered Arafat, for goodness sakes. That they be blotted out, maybe rot wherever he is. They offered him almost 95%, almost 100% of the West Bank. He didn't want it, he wanted everything. They offered him 95%, Ehud Barak, idiot. Offered him 95%, he didn't take it, thank God. He wanted 100%. They want us in the ocean. Secular Jews, doesn't matter. They want everybody in the ocean. They want to take over, and that's what they're trying to do. And if they could, they would. There's nothing to talk about. Right? And the leftists make a serious mistake. Oh, if we give in to them more, give them this, give them that. They've broken every single, treaty that's ever been made. So, obviously they can't be trusted. Right? You got to deal with them, but, you can't give them sovereignty. It's not a democracy. It's supposed to be a Jewish state. You give them, you let all these refugees, quote unquote, come in, from all the wars. There won't be a democracy anymore. You won't have a majority of Jews. That's the whole point. You have a majority of Jews. So what do? It's not democracy, right? You can't let them. It doesn't make sense to let them in. Defensive war. They fled. That's it. They lost. You go back to the 67 borders. You got to be crazy. That's insanity. You still have to have a Jewish majority. That's on the books. That's part of the charter. So then what do you do? No one says it's a real democracy. It's not. It's definitely not. But at the same time, people want what they want. They want to go where they want. They don't want to fight with the Arabs. They want peace. They want to be left alone. They don't want to be told they can't go anywhere on Shabbos. They can't go to the beach on Shabbos, and they can't import pork, and they don't want to hear any of this. They want civil marriage. So a lot of people go to Cyprus and then come back and this and that. They want civil marriage. What do you think? The right doesn't want that either? Of course they do, but we got power over here. They can't just do what they want. Right? The left is in power. They try to change everything. The right's not going to do that. They're going to keep the status quo because they know if they don't keep the status quo, they're going to have a coalition. They're not doing it for religious beliefs. Trust me. They're doing it because they have no choice. They have to give in to us because we're giving, we just, we're giving them half the coalition. We give them, one had 14 seats, one had 11, had 26, and the other one had 8, so you got 34, right? 33, 34, right? And the Likud had 32. So the religious parties make up half the coalition. That's a pretty big thing. You can't just rewrite history and say we're not going to go according to status quo. The religious parties say, "What are you, nuts?" That's part of the deal. You want us in the coalition? He doesn't have a coalition otherwise. You're not doing it because he loves Torah and he loves mitzvahs, and he and he wants to keep everything in the status. He doesn't want to do that. He'd like to be like some of the leftists. He's not going to do it. The right will never do it. Why not? Because they're only in power because of us. Because they're ultra Orthodox. So they're doing it because they have no choice. Yeah. Any other questions? When the religious would come together, they'd have more seats. They only had one party, maybe. There are too many different factions. It'd be very hard to do that. Very hard to do that. It could be the biggest party. It could be, right? But they have too many separate interests to do that. But that could be. But it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. Yeah, you have different parties. They're the ones putting in power. Yeah, someone asks about the Second Temple and who funded it. So, Second Temple let's see. So, Second Temple was refurbished by the Hasmoneans, later by Herod. He's the one more that had a hand in certainly rebuilding it by the decree of Cyrus. And you had the vessels from the first temple recovered by the Persians, Babylonians, where they conquered, were returned. Many of the Jews came outside the land, came to live in the land, but not everybody. Not everybody came. And the building itself, There were 4 gates in the outer courtyard. One of them faced the street, 2 gates in the inner courtyard, a lot of chambers surrounding the temple. I mean, it was huge. We only have the outer, what do you call it? The outer wall. That's left. So the ones that returned to Israel built an altar on the side of where the first temple was. The temple itself was about 90 feet high. Holy of Holies was empty. There was no ark. There were no cherubim. And it was completed, I guess, about 515 before the Common Era. And there was tremendous amount of pomp and circumstance and ceremony. When it was done, it took 20 years to build. And now you can have sacrificial worship, as the Torah tells us. And, it would stand until the Hasmoneans, right, time of Hanukkah. And Herod the Great would basically refurbish it starting the year 19 or 20 before the Common Era. And that's pretty much highlights of that. Yeah, any other questions? All right, I'm going to stop there. I do this every Tuesday and Thursday, 10 o'clock Eastern time. Usually 5 o'clock Israel time, and we did it early this week because they haven't changed the clock yet in the States. Next Sunday and all next weekend until we change the clocks again. Going to go back to normal time. So it'll be a class in the book of Leviticus, chapter 16, 9 o'clock Eastern time, 4 o'clock Israel time, and then, Q&As next week will be regular time. At least here for Israel, and anyone doesn't change the clock. So anyone has any questions, send me an email or find me on Facebook at Michael Chaim Kaufman, or be on Orthodox Conversion Judaism. You can send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBICHAIMCOFFMAN@gmail.com. We're having a good beginning of the day, middle of the day, we're almost